Hello, this is Luca and welcome to a new Samplesound music production tutorial. Today, I'm gonna show you how to resample a vocal recording. Resampling a vocal can lead to many interesting results, and in this video we're gonna see a couple of examples. We'll be exploring some sound design techniques to transform a voice into a modern EDM lead, or a gentle choir pad. As you can see, in this tutorial I'm using Ableton Live 11 and it's simpler, but all the techniques I'm gonna show you can be easily replicated with any native sampler or VST plugin. So here I've created a simple beat using some Samplesound, hip-hop and trap loops. We also have this vocal recording.
You're not alone when you will fall.
The most useful parts for resampling here are the ones where the singer holds a vowel. And the pitch is really stable, like this or this. So let's take this part, slice it and load it into a new sampler in a new MIDI track. So let's create the channel and drop the sample down here. So this is simpler in classic mode. First thing to do when resampling a vocal or any melodic sound in general is to tune the instrument correctly. Unlike synthesizers, samplers will play the sound at its original pitch on C3. As you can see from this tuner, I'm playing a C3 on my MIDI keyboard, but the instrument outputs a E flat, which is the original pitch of the sample. So every note I play will output a wrong pitch. So we go to the controls page, then change the transpose until we align the note and the pitch. I keep playing a C on my keyboard, then move down the transpose until I get a C also on the tuner. Here we go. Now the instrument is in tune and I'm ready to create any type of sound. The first sound we want to make is a Major Lazer style vocal chop lead. Any lead sound is usually monophonic, so we go back to the main sample panel and we change the voices parameter to 1. We also slightly adjust the volume envelope, keeping a very short attack just to avoid clicks, and a short release. A main feature of this kind of sound is the glide. If you're not familiar with this technique, it's basically like MIDI pitch bending, which creates a continuous pitch modulation rather than a steppy one. But instead of recording it with the pitch bend wheel, glide works with overlapping notes. So let's go again to the controls page, enable the glide function, then adjust its time parameter somewhere between 80 and 150 milliseconds. If you play legato notes, overlapping notes, you will get the pitch sliding from one note to the next, without the envelope being re-triggered. If you play staccato notes, it will behave in the usual way, with the pitch moving by steps, and the sample being re-triggered from start every time. Again, here in the MIDI clip view, you can hear how this effect is present only on overlapping notes. However, as it often happens with samplers, there might be a problem with the length of the sample. If a note lasts longer than the sample, or if we play many overlapping notes with glide on, the sample ends. This issue is more prominent with high-pitched notes, as the sampler reads the sound faster to get a higher pitch. One solution is to enable the time-stretching engine called Warp in Ableton. Not every sampler has this feature, but basically, with these on, the length of the sample doesn't depend on its pitch. So every note will be the same length. However, this doesn't fix the original issue, as the sound will still stop. Plus, time stretching, as you can hear, always causes some artifacts and glitches to the sound, which is not ideal. So, a better solution, when possible, is to loop the sample. In Simpler, you have to enable loop and basically play with these three parameters, loop, length, and fade, to get the best possible seamless loop. It's not always easy to find the right spot. Actually, sometimes it's impossible. But in this case, I think the result is acceptable, and the problem is fixed. Okay, so now let's do some final tweaks. Maybe we can set some short decay pitch envelope just to add some transient to the sound. And of course, let's also add some audio effects, like some reverb, some EQing, and sidechaining with both the kick drum and the snare drum as triggers. So, with this technique, we can create any type of vocal-like sound. Let's make another one, some sort of choir pad, like this. So let's grab another part of the original vocal recording, like this one, yep. Let me slice it and load it into a new Simpler on a new MIDI track. As we did before, the very first step is to tune the instrument. I get a tuner and I play a C3 on my keyboard. As you can see, there's a B in the tuner, and this means that I have to transpose up one semitone in the controls page. A pad sound is usually polyphonic, so we're not going to use any glide this time, and I set the voices parameter to 12, just to make sure that we can play many notes together with long releases. Then we increase the attack value of the volume envelope to 500-600 milliseconds and set a very long release. But even if the release is so long, the sample finishes and the sound is cut. So we need to set up a looping region as we did before. We can create a good seamless loop like this, or maybe we can move the start or ending point beyond the ideal region and get something more irregular and sometimes more interesting. As in every pad sound, we can now close the filter a tiny bit. And maybe let's add some envelope to it to give it some attack and make it a bit more noticeable. And finally, again, some audio effects. For this type of sound, it's very important to add some chorus or doubling effect to intensify the feeling of multiple voices singing together, as in a choir. Then surely we also have some reverb or dimension expander to make it nice and 3D, but also to push it a bit back in the mix. You can use this sound as it is, or maybe as a layer with some other synth or sample. The important thing is that you keep that kind of vocal, choir-like vibe to it. So yeah, we got to the end of this tutorial. We've seen today how to create 2 different types of modern electronic vocal-like sound by resampling a vocal recording. We've learned how to tune a sampler, how to correctly use the glide function, how to create a looping region, how to use audio effects, and so on. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.